put the world to the back. No matter how much you push me, yeah, I would never react. See, we never been the same, so why you think you correct? Let me take this to your level and then show you respect. Oh yeah. Know the strength inside you. Know for what it's for. Let's not overdo it.
And aggressive disease containment.
Now on lockdown.
It is one of the measures taken by the country.
How long is all this for? Scientists say that's the big question.
News that connects you globally, from the world to your home, with 4 leading news channels 24/7. Live breaking stories on GOtv. GOtv. Live it, love it.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's live lesson. Today, we're going to be continuing what we started last week, which was all about persuasive writing. We only did a bit of it. We didn't quite finish. So let's begin. I'm going to share the document with you. You saw it last week. There's a bit more we didn't get to. And it's stuff that you do need to know. So, there we go. Right, good. So if you've got any queries as we're going along, you'll stick them onto your web chat. Okay? Right, remember we said persuasion is the process of one person trying to convince someone else to change their mind. Okay? So you have to basically change the way someone feels about a topic or a subject somehow, okay? And how you do that is with the persuasive techniques. Okay, just a quick review from last time. These were the persuasive techniques we looked at, using adjectives and adverbs, appealing to your sense of justice or fairness or integrity, informal and inclusive language, so using we, us, etc. Cliches, everyone understands them. Emotive words and connotations, which is implications or inferences. You have to infer from what someone's saying, what they really mean. Okay, and they're usually emotional, as we said. So you use emotive words, like these ones we mentioned: agonizing, excruciating, heartbreaking, malicious, etc. Another thing you can use is evidence and expert opinion. This is when you find some quotations or some evidence from somewhere to back up what you're saying. Another thing you could use is exaggeration. When you exaggerate things, you must always use figures of speech in every assignment that you write. You can use similes or metaphors preferably. So make sure you get one of those in all your assignments. Hypothetical situations as examples of a viewpoint. What if, suppose that. We're talking about something that would or might happen. Okay, so it's hypothetical, it's not real. What would happen if the moon struck the earth? That sort of thing. Another thing we use is repetition, because sometimes you can brainwash people a little bit with your repetition, right? Rhetorical questions. A rhetorical question doesn't need an answer, okay? the questions, the answer is obvious, and it makes the reader jump to the conclusion that you want them to. Okay, you're trying to guide this reader of your article onto the same way of thinking as you do. Remember, we got to tone, the tone of your writing. Is it going to be enthusiastic? Is it about global warming? What's it about? Is it passionate, emotional? Are you a true believer? Is it going to be humorous? Is your tone of your writing humorous with a few jokes, good humor in there? Are you going to look very knowledgeable and very ultra smart because you can quote facts and figures? Hopefully it's going to be logical. It must have common sense. It must be reasonable, must be rational, plausible or believable. And if it's neutral, then it's unbiased, impartial, objective, etc. Or it could be witty and amusing. Okay, that's when you can do puns with words and stuff like that. Okay, so those were all the types of persuasive techniques we looked at last time. What we didn't get around to was how to go about writing a persuasive or argumentative essay. Now, it need not be an essay, obviously. It could be a letter. It could be an assignment. Okay, as long as you know how to use those persuasive techniques, you shouldn't be going wrong. Right, what's the first thing you do when you sit down and think, oh, I have to write this letter to the zoo, let's say? First, you have to choose a position. Are you for or are you against? And do you have evidence that supports one better than the other? You know, it doesn't have to be your real, true feelings. It might be the one that you've got the most evidence for that will help you the most. So first of all, you choose that position. Then the next thing, who is going to read this? Are you writing for children, teenagers, students, adults, business people? They all have a different perspective on things. So you have to understand what techniques would work best. Maybe with children you want maybe a lot of images in there. Teenagers might like a lot of subheadings, so they don't have to try and figure things out too much. They don't want to strain their brain, you know, that sort of thing. So, and the next thing you have to do is do your research. A persuasive essay depends on credible, convincing evidence. So what you need to do is get your information from different websites and reference materials, find quotations from experts, and of course, don't forget, you need to get information from both sides of the argument. You always need for and against, and you have to identify the key points for both sides. Now, why do we need for and against? Because you're going to have to put in a counter argument in your persuasive essay to show that you are cognizant of or aware of that there is another side to the story. Okay? You want to look good and smart. That's what we need to do. Okay. Let's look at the planning and method. Before that, actually, I would actually like to go to the end here and show you how you should be writing your, when we get to it, this is your spider diagram or plan for an essay. This is what you guys should be doing every time you've got faced with an English assignment. Okay? First of all, the useful vocabulary that you might use. And you've always to include a simile, a metaphor, personification, or onomatopoeia. So you can start thinking of those once you think of the vocabulary that you can maybe use. Okay? Look at this. Astounding, remarkable, wonderful, incredible, mind-blowing, well-being, welfare, etc. Extinct, destroyed, vanished, research, investigation, examination, artificial, contrived, false, pretentious, all those kind of words. Because this is an essay, this was an essay that's to do with the zoo. I think you all had to write an essay being not an essay, to write a letter, which was even worse because people didn't know how to write a letter, and it was going to be about zoos. So sorry, you can't really see the whole page, unfortunately. Let's look at the things you would do in your plan. This is what your plan must look like, okay? In the middle of your spider diagram, we're going to talk about zoos. So are you going to be pro-zoo or anti-zoo? So in the introduction to your essay, you're going to make that very clear. Otherwise, people won't know what you're talking about. What's the main argument you're going to have? Is it good for animals and good for the planet? And what would my counter argument be? You need to think of that. Bad zoos and keepers, ill treatment, lack of funds, animal nature reserves rather. That will be your counter argument paragraph. And what's your conclusion? A good zoo keeps nature going without sacrificing the animal's well-being. Something like that. So that's basically a little outline of what your letter about zoos was going to be. Now that you've got that in your head, this is when you try and do your outline spider legs. The topic sentence 1. What are you going to start off with? Because you're going to have a topic sentence, then you're going to have evidence and back it up in that first paragraph. So topic sentence 1, zoos are amazing. You can see a tiger, a fuzzy koala bear, or a predatory evil snake, or a crocodile, or whatever. So you'll talk about that. Then you're going to have another topic sentence 2. Zoos are places for everyone to relax and bask in the beauty of Mother Nature's wonders. And you'll back all that up with evidence. Then you'll have another topic sentence. Future generations will not witness the wonders of nature without zoos. Maybe you're going to discuss, gosh, all the animals are going to be wiped out if we can't keep them safe somewhere. Maybe they're not going to be safe out in some animal reserve between pollution, lack of food, lack of water, poachers, all that stuff. Okay, so that's your kind of main points you're looking at. Then we've got phrases you could use. You know, you want to be dramatic. Maybe they're going to be wiped off the planet from some unnatural cause, struggle to survive in the wild, decline of nature, research. Some more phrases you might want to use. You're just thinking of all this before you even start, don't forget. Entertainment, interactive with some of the animals in a zoo, perfect expedition venue for families that have no chance of going out to any nature reserves, safe enclosures, animals perhaps given things to keep them busy. Okay, what about some statistics and facts? Put them in another box. What's the extinction crisis at the moment? 21% of mammals, 30% of amphibians, 37% of freshwater fish are being wiped out every year. Okay, so you do that as well. Facts and opinions. Also things that you might need to look up on your research. Animals killed off from, as we said, pollution, poaching, hostile environments, and generally man destroying the habitat of animals. Okay, I believe they're supposedly clearing the Amazon forest yet again, because the new prime minister in that country says that's fine, people need work, etc. So let's not worry about anything else. So he's a bit short-sighted there. Right, and then on the bottom you've got some other notes and words that you're sticking in, just in case you can use them. Contrasting, if you're going to contrast, this is going to be for your counter-argument. However, whilst, but, yet, alternatively, instead, because you need to learn to get those connectors, conjunctions, etc. at the front or in the middle of your sentences, wherever they go, to make your writing flow more smoothly. If you're adding points, use words like also, as well as, furthermore, besides, similarly. Maybe between paragraphs to try and make sure your paragraphs link together. In order to do something. In that case. Moreover. Not only X, Y, Z, but also. So these are connectors you can use for between the paragraphs. And of course you need your signposting words, so you know which is your first argument, your next argument, and so on. The signposting words, first and foremost, firstly, secondly, after that, finally, then, next, now, soon, since, previously, etc. You can read all that for yourselves. Now, this is the kind of thing you should have for your plan for an essay. And once you've got things like this together, you know exactly what to do in each essay or assignment that you're going to come up against. Some of these ones you don't need to change. If it's going to be an argumentative essay, if it's another type of essay, perhaps a description, maybe you would need a box about location and descriptions of location. You might need a box for the characters, how to describe the characters, what's their personality like. So it all depends on the type of essay, but we're looking at the persuasive or argumentative essay. So hopefully that's what your spider diagram or plan is going to look like. Because then you just need to pick out words with your ideas, because you've already thought of all those things. Then it's a matter of putting them together properly. Remember, using your sentences, different varied lengths of sentences, short sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences. So, I hope that's not a shock to people's system that their plan should be so quite thorough, I think. But if you do it thoroughly, then the writing part becomes the easy part. Okay? Right, if you're structuring an effective argument, you've got the 4 P's that you learned about in your book. The promise, the picture, the proof, and the push. Okay? You are kind of really in the promise. You're telling the reader what he'll gain. Okay? And you're going to use a bit of descriptive language there. The picture of what you're arguing about. Also, again, descriptive language. And ask the reader to imagine himself enjoying the good points of what you're arguing for. Proof, again, that's your evidence is proof. Facts, statistics, research, testimonials. And then the final push, a final guarantee that the reader will benefit from whatever you've been arguing about. Okay, so that's the 4 P's, just to remind you. Also, when the writer's writing an argumentative essay, you must be careful about the structure and length of your sentences. You can use imperative sentences to command or guide the reader on what to think. Okay, you're trying to guide them into thinking your way, so you'll use a short, you should really use this new product we've got for washing. Okay, so you're kind of ordering to do it. We've discussed rhetorical questions to make the reader think he's involved. And we use declarative sentences, they're called, which is really the facts, opinions, and information. You've got the exclamatory sentences, which is with an exclamation mark, and that's where you make short, sharp points. And finally, you use prepositional phrases to add details about where, when, how, what, which, and whose. So that's just like your normal writing, normal description there. Okay, so that's quite a lot of stuff to think about between a huge plan, your 4 P's, this kind of rhetorical sentence structure and lengths. But those are persuasive, argumentative techniques. Okay, let's see if we have any more over here. Oh yes, there are a few more. Your signposting, your rule of 3, when you give evidence, try to give 3 examples. So you can do 1 example per paragraph, because you're going to do an introduction, a main topic sentence, another main topic sentence paragraph, a third, 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph, that's your counter argument, and finally your conclusion. So you need that. We've mentioned emotive language previously, because you're appealing to that reader's feelings. And remember the 6 steps to the argument or persuasion. Introduction. Begin with a statement in which you make your point of view clear. Okay? Zoos are a great place, kind of story. Then you advance your argument, where you support that argument. Then you develop a bit further, more support, another topic sentence, more evidence, your counter-argument, write a paragraph. Then you dismiss the counter-argument. You argue against that. Okay, and you say why it is really bad. And then finally you've got your conclusion, summarizing your points and reinforcing your view to the reader, hopefully by which time you have persuaded him round to your way of thinking. Let's just go back. We've got an example here. It's not a zoo. The planning and method of your essay. Introduction. You need to get the reader's attention, and perhaps you could use some sort of hook, some sort of short exclamatory sentence. Look at this one. Driving while talking on your cell phone is the same as drunk driving. Is that true? Well, you've said it now, so now you've got to back up your points. And then you write an overview of the argument or big picture. Drivers using cell phones are the leading cause of road accidents nowadays. And then end the paragraph, the introduction, by stating your opinion. I believe that if drivers were prohibited from using cell phones, accidents would be significantly reduced and lives would be saved. Because that's the whole point of this argument about driving using a cell phone. So that would be your introduction. You've said it's just the same as drunk driving. You've got to prove it now. Now, just as a reminder, we put here the body paragraphs must have a topic sentence, supporting sentence, and a concluding sentence, okay? We also said paragraphs should include P, the point you're making, the topic sentence. E, the evidence. Back it up with support, with an example, quote, stats, or a paraphrase from somewhere else. E is the explanation. Explains your point in more detail, how and why your evidence supports the point. And L, try to link your last little sentence to your main point in that paragraph. So remember, paragraphs, bananas. Paragraphs should include peel. Right, let's look at paragraph 1 while we're still talking about cell phones. Right. In bold is the topic sentence. Cell phone use while driving has become a leading cause of vehicle crashes. This is due to drivers being unable to multitask because they are distracted. Distractions decrease the driver's attention and slow down reaction times. For example, drivers tend to have slow reactions to changing traffic lights, or they don't even notice them changing because they're too busy looking at their phone. Not only do distractions cause erratic driving, for example, straddling lanes when you're driving up the white line instead of being in your own lane, or drifting from lane 1 through to lane 3, but the drivers themselves have a slow brake reaction time. They can't slam on their brakes if somebody runs in front of them. They're much slower because they're looking at their phones. Reports have shown that 11% of drivers between the ages of 18 to 21 were distracted at the time of a fatal crash. That means somebody has died, whether it's the driver themselves or other people he's killed in the process. We don't know. It looks like drivers are willing to risk their personal safety as well as the safety of others because they can't put down their cell phones. And I'm sure that's known as addiction. Okay, so that would be a paragraph discussing cell phones being a leading cause of vehicle crashes. Okay, there's the kind of things. He's on his phone, she's looking in the mirror, etc. Anything but watching the road is not good. Right, look at the next paragraph. We're going to have another topic sentence and we're going to back that up. Texting is an even bigger killer than talking on a cell phone. So that's even worse. Texting while driving has now replaced drinking and driving as the leading cause of death among teenage drivers. According to a survey conducted by Pretoria University, 49% of adult drivers admitted they text while driving. That's it. In that same survey, more than 90% of drivers knew texting was dangerous, but they didn't care. They didn't really care if they killed themselves or some other innocent person who's not texting. Drivers are 4 times more likely to get in an accident while talking on their cell phone and 23 times more likely to crash if they're texting. So when you're talking it's 4, when you're texting it's 23. That's very, very risky, isn't it? In addition, this shows the driver's risk increases with more distractions, thereby risking the lives of innocent pedestrians or other drivers. Right? And now someone's just told us that they have seen this on YouTube, people driving, it's a real life, and they've crashed because they're texting. See, people just can rush out, especially in the dark. They might rush out to cross the road because they can't see how fast a car is coming. And if that driver is on the cell phone, wham, bam, and off he goes. He's a goner. If you get hit by a car at that speed, whoa, you're not going to survive. Right. Now we've got to write the counter-argument or opposing view paragraph. Okay. So, although there are serious negative impacts to using cell phones while driving, there may be a few benefits. The most important benefit of cell phones would be security. During emergency situations, a driver could make emergency calls for an ambulance or to the police. Further, he could report any dangerous scenario, such as roadside accidents, to the authorities. Finally, if he lost his way, a driver could locate his desired route on his cell phone, although that would also be highly distractive. Using a GPS, in other words, it's a distraction. However, do these so-called benefits of using a phone outweigh the possibility of serious injury or death to the driver or others by using it for an emergency? You see, there's a rhetorical question. Oh, okay, I guess we're running out of time, almost, yet again. Let's see if we can finalize it. That's what's going to happen. And the concluding paragraph, we're just going to restate and reinforce the original contention. Drivers who use cell phones while driving are highly dangerous and are just as guilty as those driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol, which is of course illegal. Most accidents that occur tend to be fatal and have serious consequences. Maybe people have just turned into paraplegics or whatever. It's just very serious. All drivers should be prohibited from using cell phones, and this would reduce motor vehicle accidents and deaths on the road. Okay. So that's the way to write your paragraphs. Are you persuading people not to use cell phones? Did you manage? At least you gave them something to think about if you didn't totally persuade them. Okay? So there's just accidents happening all the time. So for those who haven't learned to drive yet, make sure you don't use those cell phones. Right. So I hope that helped a little bit to show you how to write a persuasive essay. And I hope you remember the plan, because you should all be making your spider diagram or plan for an essay like this. Because in that way, you've got everything at your fingertips. You don't need to think anymore. Once you've done your original thinking, getting all your words, finding out a synonym